Okay, now we're going to do some more interesting widgets. We're going to use gradients and we're going to do dimensionality to give our widget shapes. We're going to continue working with the same button, but this should make much more interesting things. So let's go here. Remember, we've got our basic 4-state. Disabled, enabled, hover, active. We want images for each of those 4 states. That's going to give us a button or a widget or a type-in box or whatever it is. Now I should point out here, frequently we don't capture these with the text in them because we want to be able to put the text over them later. That works in HTML, it works in Java, works in a number of things. Okay, so let's start out. Let's get ourselves a background. And I don't want to go with gray today, so I'm going to go and get me a layout. I format the background. And I want a solid background. And I'm going to pick a nice dark brown. Well, let's start here. And that's pretty red and coppery. And so what we do is we click here, more colors, and then we move it and make it a little darker. Okay, I like it darker like that. It's a good dark brown background. Now, the result of that, however, is it makes this text almost impossible to read, so we'll go up there and make that white. Okay, now we got a nice dark background. We can put some interesting things over the top of that. So I'm going to start with enabled, and this time I'm going to use a rounded rectangle. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of the shape outline, no outline. And the fill color, I'm going to go with this orange right there, a little bright. A little bright. In fact, I'm going to go format my background, color, more colors, lighten it up just a little bit. That's just a little harsh for me. There we go. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but it's a place to start. Okay, and I'm going to type button in the middle of this just so I can get the text right, and at that lightness, I need a different text color. Let's use that dark brown. There we go. Nah. Let's go all the way to black. I like it better black. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I've got my button, I've got my label. Now let's make it more interesting. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to go to Shape Fill. And I'm going to go to Gradient. And I'm going to come down here to More Gradients. Okay, and I'm going to click Gradient Fill, and it's giving me a bunch of weird colors. So I'm going to give me a gradient stop right here, and I'm going to come over and I'm going to select that orange color that we had before. Notice I've got sort of this rainbow effect going on here. I'm going to come to this one and I'm going to select that same orange color again. Now up here on the top, I'm going to select white. Oh, I want this to be 90 degrees. And down here, on this end, I'm going to select that really dark brown. It's too dark a brown. Yeah, that's a little better. All right. Let's click here so we can see what our button looks like. Okay, see what we've done here now. I want you to watch this because as I move this gradient stop, basically what this is telling it is to start out with white and blend to this yellow color, and then blend, keep to that yellow color, and then blend down to the dark brown. That's what it's telling me. So I can add gradient stops, I can set the colors of any of those gradient stops. Makes a really interesting effect. What I'm creating is sort of a dimensionality effect by faking it. Just saying go from light, so it looks like there's a glow on top, looks like there's a shadow on the bottom. I've got a much more interesting button than I had before. Simple gradient technique. Okay, let's close that out. Alright. Now I'm going to take that text off of there because I'm going to go and create some text down here. It's going to be black. and I'm going to slide it right up there. Now, what happens now is there's actually two objects here. There's the text object and there's the button background objects, and I did that on purpose. And I'll show you why here. Okay, so let's select all of this. We'll copy it. We'll do a paste, and we'll drag it over here to the hover area. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to make this thing, when I hover over it, I want to make it lighter without actually changing it. So what I'm going to do is select the background, not the text, but that background button. I'm going to make a copy of it. I'm going to paste it. Now notice it's going over the top of the text. I don't want that. So I'm going to select that text. I'm going to do a right click, bring to the front. Now see the buttons over the top of this thing? Then I'm going to take this thing here and I'm going to say I just want it to be white. And I'm going to slide it back over the top of my button. So now that white, it's exactly the same shape as what I had before. It's sitting between my gradient shape and my text. But you know, I've lost all my dimensionality, and that isn't what I wanted to do. So I'm going to go back up here to Shape Fill again. I'm going to say More Fill Colors. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to make it about 50% transparent. Okay. All right. See, it looks exactly like this button, only it's a little lighter. So as I move my mouse over it, when I actually use it, it'll be a little lighter. Okay, so the trick is I put a white over the top, and I made it transparent. So that shows through all the detail that's coming from below. So it wouldn't matter what this thing would below here. Just put that white transparency over. Now I don't want it over the button, because over the text, because that makes the text go. I don't want to do that. Now, if I wanted to make it darker, what I would have done is made this copy black and then made it as transparent as I wanted to. All right. Now let's to make it active. Let's do this. Let's grab this, make a copy of it. Slide it over here. We'll make an active version. Okay, I'm going to select the background. I'm going to go to the Shape Fill again, and I'm going to say, give me more gradients. Now, let me push this around here so we can see what I've got. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add 180 degrees. This is the angle of the gradient. I'm going to add it 180 degrees, which is going to be 270. Now, look what it did. Where'd my original button go? Let's put my original button back. Okay, I'm going to go back to this one. Gradient. More gradients. I'm going to put this back to 90. Okay, now see this button? It looks like it's sticking out with the light coming from above. This one looks like it's poking in with the light coming from above. So now there's a shadow. Looks like I bent it in. So if I push on it, this will be the active color. Okay, and maybe just to be a little exciting, I'm going to give it an outline, which is white. Okay, just make it a little more, give it a little more spark because it's active. You can do what you want. All right, let's do the disabled. I'm going to make a copy here. Going to paste it and drag it over here. All right. Now I want this thing to fade into the background. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my Shape Fill, and I'm going to say no gradient. Okay, I don't want to give it any shape at all. Then I'm going to go back to my Shape Fill, and I'm going to say, let's make it darker. Maybe not that dark. Let's go more fill colors, and we'll just darken that down there a bit. Oh, not too dark. Okay. Alright, see how it fades back now? And then I'll select that text, and I'll make that text not nearly as contrasty. Okay, there I got 4 states, much more interesting than what I had before. I used my gradients. I used this little transparency trick to create a highlight over whatever my texture was. I inverted the gradient angle to make it look, and then I just shaded down the color. Alright, that's one trick. Let's try another one. This time I think I want to go with a lighter background. So I'm going to go with a solid fill, select color. There's a tan color. Let's try that tan. Yeah, I like that tan color. Okay, so there's a nice tan background for us to start working with. This time what I think I will do is I will go with an elliptical button. Okay, make it big enough that it'll hold my text. Okay, now I'm going to go up here to something called Quick Styles. I'm going to select this one right here. Okay, you can actually create these styles by hand, but Quick Styles are nice. Look at that. I got a nice cool little, I don't like the white text. Make it black. Okay, I got a nice cool orange button. Fits with this background. It's got a little bit of a shadow. Look at all that. A nice dimensional effect. This is a feature that PowerPoint gives to us. Now I'm going to select that, and I'm going to go to Shape Effects, and I'm going to go to 3D Options right here. The reason I'm going to go to 3D Options, just get me so I can see my button, is I want to make that button taller. Okay, that gives it much more of a, and then I'm going to go over here to the shadow, and I want to make that shadow, not too much. And then I want to control the angle. There we go. Okay, so we started out with our preset. We went up into Shape Effects. Let me select that. We went up into Shape Effects. We were able to change the height and the depth. You just need to play with those when you get there. And then we went to the shadow, and we gave it a bigger shadow, stronger, because we're going to use that in a second here. All right. Take that button, copy and paste it, go over to the hover. Okay, once we're over to the hover, then I want to lighten it. Okay, last time I lightened it by putting a piece of transparency over it. This time I'll lighten it by modifying its shape fill. Okay. More fill colors. Let's get up here. Okay, see? The button lit up. The button lit up. I lightened up that color there. Okay, so we'll copy and paste. We'll bring this over. Okay, when it's active, I want it to pretend like it's being pressed down. So let's go to Shape Effects. Let's go to Shadow and say No Shadow. Because when you push it down, I'm not going to get any shadow. And then I'm going to go to Shape Effects again. And I'm going to go to Bevel. And I'm going to go to 3D Options. So what I'm going to do on this bevel is I'm going to reduce the height. Okay. I reduce the height and reduce the width, and see how it looks thinner and flatter? Alright. And then I'll give it a little bit of an outline. Sort of make it look like it's sinking into the background. Sort of make it look like it's sunk into its socket. So basically what happens, the shadow disappeared, the thing got thinner and flatter, sank into the background a little bit. It looks like I pushed the button down. Okay, and our trick on disabled, this one's easy. Copy, paste, go over here and disabled. So shape effects, shadow. We don't want any shadow. Shape effects, bevel, no bevel. We want it to just flatten away. And shape fill, go to more fill colors and increase the transparency. Okay, increasing the transparency. Oh, that didn't give me the color I wanted. Let's go to shape fill, more fill colors. You got a good transparency. Okay. And then we'll take that button and we'll make it go to there we go. Alright, so what we did is we took a color like this one, took that same color, only we made it transparent. And by making it transparent, the background shows through. Okay, and then we toned down the color here. Alright, now one of the questions you ask is, okay, you did all these designs in PowerPoint, how am I going to get them into my application? Because I actually want to build something. So with shapes like this, and I purposely picked this ellipse because it's an odd non-rectangular shape. With shapes like this, what you really have to do is you need to use them as images. And we'll learn later how in JavaScript and other things we can just use the 4 images to create what we want. It's one of the reasons why we frequently take the text off, is because then we can just get the image's shape, whatever text label we want on it. Alright, the easiest thing is something called the snipping tool, which comes in later versions of Windows. If you don't have the snipping tool, I'll show you another way. What the snipping tool does, in fact, let me cancel that. One of the things I forgot to tell you is that when you're snipping images, I really like to snip them really big. Okay, so I made that big. See, PowerPoint's going to draw it with all that goodness all in there. Okay, and if I capture it really big, I can always shrink it down. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to end up with something really pixelated. So start from lots of resolution, scale yourself down as you need to. So, snipping tool says snip. And there I've captured. Okay, now this is going to work great if you have a background that's the same as this background. Because what you can do right now is you can just save that image. And you can do that with all 4 images, and you're good to go. If you don't have something that's this background, then first thing is I recommend you don't do the shadow, because the shadow is going to be a little hard to get right. So basically do the snipping tool if the background matches, and you're the one that decides the background, so you very easily could do it with a perfectly matching background. But let's put this out of the way here for a minute. Let's go over here and take one of these. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to go to shape effects, shadow, no shadow. So I just want to do this kind of a button. I'm going to leave the shadowing effect out of it. Alright, so once more I'm going to go to my snipping tool. I'm going to take a snip. Okay. I'm not sure if that captured well for you or not. Okay, I've got my snipping tool. And this also puts it on the clipboard, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start Photoshop. Now Photoshop says create a new file, and it automatically creates it the size of whatever's on the clipboard. There it is right there. Now let me do that for you again, because I want to remind you of one important thing. Okay, here's where it's creating it. It's automatically set it to the size of that thing I snipped for the clipboard. Make sure the background is transparent. Very, very important. Transparent background. Okay. So here we are over here, and here's our transparent background. I'm going to do paste, Control V. There's my button. Now I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to get this magic wand, and I'm going to go around the outside here, and then I'm going to hit the delete key. Okay, and then I'm going to go up with my selection tool, and I'm going to try to very carefully select exactly the edge right there. I'm going to go to Image and say Crop. Alright, now if I save that, what that's got is it's got a nice orange button. I probably would have left the text off of it. But this around here is all transparent. And by making that all transparent, then what happens is whatever's behind is just going to show up. So it's just going to look like a really nice button. It's going to look like a really nice button laying over the top of whatever I want it to lay over the top of. Alright, that's how I do it. Now, in some cases you don't have a snippy tool. Almost always what you have is a button that says Print Screen. It's usually on the upper left of your keyboard. When you say Print Screen, that does a screen capture of everything on the screen. Now I'll go back over here to Photoshop, and I'll say New, and it's going to be huge. There it is. I'll paste. There it is. Okay. Then I can come over here, and I can actually crop down right there and pick out what I want. Okay? If you don't have the snipping tool, that's another technique. Alright, there you go. We've got nice buttons. Let's zoom back out again. We've got nice buttons. We can do shadowing. We can make them look like they press down. We got dimensionality. It was really easy because PowerPoint comes with the shape effects. Comes with these shape effects right here that let us do all sorts of shadows and edges and bevels. I use the shadows and the bevels the most. And it also comes with these quick styles, which got us a lot of the way there right off the bat. So a couple of things. Really easy to build widgets that have dimensionality, interest to them, capture them as images, use those images in user interface design. Have a good time, design good things.